me, I will tell them that Tell Me is on.
Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it. Tell Me with host Carlisle Powell.
There are talk shows, and then there is Tell Me, your very credible source for information. Join us every Thursday night. You certainly won't be disappointed.
Alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
Panic and fear, uncertainty that is compounded by a leadership that appears unprepared, uncertain, and indecisive in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic.
And Tulu Weeks.
Until God gets a hold of our Premier's life and transform him, he will go from bad to worse.
We are tired of playing politics. We need to see policies that will change the life of people, especially those of us in the diaspora.
Tell me.
Carlisle, I want all human leaders to rally for change.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m., you can be a part of this conversation by calling 669-7312. That's 869-669-7312. Also available on WhatsApp. Or from the diaspora, 917-460-2187.
Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with host Carlisle Powell on 2020 Vision Radio and Facebook.
This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM.
Good night, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Tell Me. And this evening, we will be going for the usual 2 hours with a little bit of a difference. This evening, it is Powell Overload. And so it is Powell times 2. Alan Powell will be with me this evening. And we are going to have about 4 hours worth of show that we'll condense into 2 hours. We'll be back right after this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you will never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers.
Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby.
Good night, Alan Powell. How are you doing?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I am magnificent. I am having a truly, truly good day. And I'm enjoying life. So it's good to hear that you're okay. At the start of the show, let me say good evening to my usual family members, Mary and Glenda and Mervet, my sisters from my mother Maria. And of course, extending greetings to their families as well. And saying hi and hello to Shireen and Caden. Caden had a big track meet today, New Balance. And Alan, we must touch on athletics in Nevis. You having been so closely associated with watching and supporting your cousin Caden. And let me continue by saying greetings to Trevor and Everett, my brothers from my mother Maria, and hope that they're doing well. Dahlia, hope that you're having a good night tonight. Tell Me is coming to your house. And of course, Alan is on the show with me this evening. Dr. Daly and Tulu, my usual partners, and Dr. Daniel are not with me tonight because a couple of times a year I try my very best to catch up with Alan so we can discuss what's happening in and around Nevis and the rest of the world. Alan, your time for your shout-outs.
Well, I just wanted to say good night to everybody. Big up the Real Entertainment Network as usual. I just hope that everybody in Nevis is doing well. I realize tomorrow is the launch of Culturama. So I hope that that goes off safely. And everybody has a good season. We're heading into Music Fest, Mango Fest. It's an exciting time during the summer.
Very much so. And at the start of the show, let me say good evening and send our condolences to the Morton family. Of course, Lawson and Sandopi are very closely associated with 2020 Vision Radio. And they lost their brother, Walter. And so we are reaching out and sending condolences to that family and wishing them well. And then let's do the birthday greetings. And listen, viewers, listeners, let me warn you, we're not singing tonight. Dr. Daly has told the world I can't sing. I don't want to prove him right. So we're definitely not singing tonight because I don't have him in the studio to carry me off. Saying birthday greetings to Soul Ken. I think everybody in Nevis knows Soul Ken. He's celebrating another birthday today, Thursday. Tomorrow, we have Michelle Warner. On Saturday, my cousin Charles Thomas will be celebrating. And also on Saturday, 2020 Vision Radio turns 8. And Rhonda is in the house to make sure that she sends greetings to 2020 Vision Radio. And Rhonda sent a little sugar cake too. So we thank you very much for that, Rhonda. On Monday, Vita Morton will be celebrating a birthday. And on Tuesday next week, my good friend Ernestine Katie Mills will be celebrating a birthday. And so those are the persons who I have on the birthday list this evening that we want to send birthday greetings to. You have anybody, Alan?
Well, I just want to clear up something because on Sunday was my Facebook birthday. I put out a post to let people know that Sunday is absolutely not my birthday, but Facebook is not allowing me to edit that. So Sunday was my Facebook birthday and I was flooded with greetings. I thank everybody who reached out for my Facebook birthday.
Alan, you're a bad man. You have Facebook birthday.
Indeed.
You have Facebook birthday separate and apart from your real birthday.
Indeed.
I wonder, I must try something like that. How old are you on Facebook?
I am 126 years old.
Oh, Jesus, Lord of mercy. You're older than Martin Powell.
Yes, I was born in the 1890 something. And I was born in Iran. So I am being bombed heavily at this moment in time.
So is long time you're bad like the Taliban?
Long time.
Because somebody did send me a message on Sunday to say that you're celebrating birthday 100 and something.
I tell you,
I didn't understand it, but now I think I understand it
Yeah,
a little better.
yeah.
Listen, tonight our topics are going to take us all over the place. We have a lot of topics to cover this evening, and maybe we should start not where you said you wanted us to start, but because we looked at that race this afternoon with Caden, who we want to send our congratulations to. Maybe we should start just there. Your impressions of the race? 400 meters for 8th graders, 14-year-olds, from right
Uh,
across America.
eighth grade would be equivalent for us to third farm.
12, 13, 14, yeah.
Okay, so right around third farm, and just so for context, they ran. I think the winner of the race ran under 50 seconds. I think in fact he ran 48 point
48 point
something
something.
seconds. And this is just as I was pointing out to my father, the New Balance athletes. The
Mhm.
Adidas athletes would have their meet, the Nike athletes, the Puma athletes. So
And we already saw the Brooks athletes.
yes, and that is a well, that is even select.
Mhm.
That is special because that would pull from everywhere. That is just elite competition basically. So it's just it the athletic season in the United States and in other countries runs a lot longer than it would traditionally run in Nevis. That is also something to note as well.
And what is important for the meets that we have seen so far, we've seen Brook Shoes, New Balance, their shoes as well. They sponsor their own meets and select their own athletes. Listen, children buy shoes, parents buy shoes. So this is a good marketing strategy, not just to help the elite athletes, but also to market the products. In Nevis, our children generally get to run their school meet, and after the school meet, it comes down to the interprimary, and then they're
Well,
done.
well, I would add that some of the clubs have also tried something. I think Delvin, if
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken, he has like a little relay meet before. So this is where like the clubs have to come in and different. Maybe if there were an entrepreneur who was invested in sports, because what you had, and I mean this is old time and this type of thing, but if you study Europe when they came out of the Middle Ages, the Medici family
Hmm.
sponsored a lot of the scientists. So you do need wealthy patrons in order to partake in these sports.
That
And
that is
well,
true.
maybe the other possibility would be to attract one of these companies to do a meet in Nevis. That would also be an alternative circumstance. There are many ways you could look at it and learn and see different ways.
And we have a number of our banks here in Nevis to jump in on the interprimary. Maybe it's time that they stand alone and they decide, okay, all right, we want to do a meet on our own, either leading up to interprimary, or maybe they can pick their time and invite the best of the best to come and compete. This is
Indeed,
exactly what the shoe companies are doing here for these youngsters.
indeed, and this comes back to a part of a little of my frustration with these competitions because, and I think that you are facing the same thing in your role as the chairman of the Nevis Cricket Association. You ultimately have to bring value to your sport, and these different endeavors they help to bring value. It is not just the government or the cricket association that has a responsibility. If All Stars, for example, as a club, or Empire as a club has a cricket tournament, this also adds to the thing. But it's about, in my opinion, there has to be some economics to it at the end of the day because you put in resources, you put in time. So there must be some kind of end goal because not everybody can do it just philanthropically or for altruistic reasons.
Totally agree with you. Okay, we're going to change topics and we're going to get down to business now because you've been following events here in Nevis and there are some matters which are on the agenda which you and I will look at this evening. Let's start with the hospital. This hospital was started in 2017. They cleared ground in actually as far back as 2014 and then started in full in 2017. Now, the Premier has said that this is the only thing that the opposition can see to talk about. And I sent a message to tell the Premier, I'm surprised that the whole of Nevis is not talking about it and not up in arms about it, because it has been a travesty. But let's play a number of clips. And you want to comment after each one? Let's do it that way.
Well, actually, I want to do one little thing, if you would permit
Sure.
me before. I just, there are a couple little lines in the budgets from 2022 to 2024 that we're going to talk about before we go into the clips. Just
Absolutely.
So that we have some context.
Absolutely.
In 2022 at paragraph 18, he says, our work on the new wing continues and we anticipate being able to deliver this to the people of Nevis in the fiscal year of 2022. So in 2022, we were promised that this was going to be delivered. In addition to that, he said the hospital expansion interior layout plans have been completed and work has already resumed on this critical project. Notice, as you said, if he wonders why there is a substantial focus on the project, he has intimated the level that the project is the critical project. In the 2023 budget, he spoke and he went on again. He said, I am pleased to report that we have received the internal layout drawings from the consultants. Remember in 2022, he already said we had it and work had resumed.
Mm-hmm.
Now we say we have received it and we have, the layout drawing from the consultants contracted to do the interior design work for the new Alexandra wing. All the external finishes on the project are substantially complete, and all that left to be done is installation. And finally, in the 2024 budget, he spoke about the hospital. Oh yes. Say, I am to report that we have engaged the services of Medical Design Consultants LLC, a Florida-based company, which has been working to provide quantity takeoffs for the internal aspects of the new hospital wing. One distinction I want to make is that before he said we're looking for design, then he said we're looking for a report on quantity takeoffs. For people who don't understand the design, obviously is the design of the building, the shape, the flow. The quantity takeoffs is the amount of materials you are going to need to finish the project, the amount of concrete, etc. It is malpractice not to get the both of them at the same time. Both of them go together. Companies who provide designs often gonna tell you, since I give you the design, this is the quantities where you need. They're gonna offer the same service. It does not make sense for you to tell me in 2023 we're looking for designs and then to come back a year later to say no, we're waiting for the quantity. Both of them go together, as far as I understand from Google AI.
And we're asking people to hold your calls. We'll tell you when you can call, but hold the calls so that we can go through this in a systematic way. Alan, what is even more troubling, you're talking about 2022 and 2023 for a project that started building in 2017. So what estimate did they use since they didn't have quantity survey?
Well, that is another troubling thing, because we would have seen various estimates in the budget, and we keep on hearing that we're looking for reports. What was the budget based on if we had no report?
It's troubling.
Yes.
Okay, so you ready for the first clip?
Yes.
The hospital wing, we had made a commitment that we'd restart the hospital wing in May, I think it was, of this year, because we had finally got what we had been waiting for a very long time. However, the government did take a look at the fact that we were celebrating our 50 years of Culturama and our homecoming celebration. And we decided that we needed to upgrade our various facilities for that purpose. And so we delayed the recommencement of the work at the hospital. I cannot today give you a date when we will restart, but what I can tell you is that a discussion has already started in terms of how we go about completing that project. That project, I can tell you, Ms. Budgeon, will be the most important infrastructure project for the government in the coming budget session.
You heard that clearly? The volume seemed a little low.
I was able to hear. Very good.
Okay, so we post it such an important project, but we halted the project because we were celebrating Culturama 50. Can be so important after all if health has to take a backseat to wine and walk up and alcohol.
But we also know that Culturama does not have a higher priority than the hospital, in the fact that look at the advertising this year, look at the energy this year for Culturama.
Correct.
We have the chairman himself who has said, ladies and gentlemen, the prices, the cost of the tickets is not going to go down, but the prizes for the contestants is going to go down. And speaking actively that there is less money in Culturama this year, not just from sponsors, but from the government itself.
Okay. And not only that, Culturama finished a long time ago. We're ready to celebrate a next Culturama, but nothing has restarted on the hospital.
And I also want you to remember that we start off by saying we finally received the report that we were waiting so long for. And this is going to be the most important priority. When somebody tells you this is the most important priority, it is for you to believe them, of course. But at the end of the day, you have to look and see how they operate with this most important priority. Are they taking care of it like it's their most important priority? It's for the people to determine that.
But the premier is going on and on that the opposition only see the hospital. That is the only focus. But he's the one who has been focusing attention on the hospital. Let's go to, that was September of 2024. Let me go now to October of, let me see, we should have one from October of 2024. I'm looking at I'm going to have to play it from my phone because half of these clips are not in the folder. So let me go from my phone again with this one from October of 2024.
You asked, do we have a start date? The answer is no. We have not yet announced a start date because we are still finalizing some matters in that regard. But as you know, Ms. Budgeon, we have the budget debates that we have scheduled for the 3rd to the 6th of December. And we are anticipating that at that point, the Minister of Health will be able to make a fulsome report as to when we start and what we're going to do in relation to the hospital. You are, however, correct that in our budget estimates discussions, we have highlighted one main capital project for next year, and that's the hospital. So that is our primary focus in the coming year, but I do not yet have a date that I can tell you on January 1, this is what's going to happen. I will leave that to the Minister of Health, who no doubt will spend some time on that in her budget address. If, of course, we get a date before and we have a start date and we're settled as to when that will happen, then certainly I will convey that to you. But the expectation at this point is that we will have a more fulsome report during the budget discussions.
What jumps out at you from this clip?
Well, this clip is merely a deflection. This now is I'm gonna put this on the junior minister.
Correct.
This is I'm shuffling this after the budget. Please, we have another press conference in November. Give me a chance in November. Don't ask me about the hospital. But understand, they have at this point from the last one, they have the report.
Mm-hmm.
You can say something, or at least you should have considered it by now, in some sort of depth, to say something. Even if you don't have a date, you may have an idea as to cost, for example, something. Go ahead.
Okay, let's take you down to November of 2024, the next press conference.
I would say that will be our focus, and will other major projects be on the back burner? The short answer is yes. Our intention in 2025 is to advance the hospital project significantly.
That's it. To advance the hospital significantly. But we haven't seen any work since COVID.
This has been the theme. Because remember, I was reading the budget from 2022. Our plan is to advance this. We're going to finish it summer of 2023. It has been supposed to finish every summer from since 2019. Every single summer. We have had, I think it is 2 Olympics since then. I think next year is going to be the 3rd World Cup we're going to have since the hospital is supposed to complete. Messi don't win the World Cup, Mbappe don't win the World Cup and lose the World Cup in the time that the hospital has not been built yet. But many Cuban doctors have also graduated in the time that the hospital has not been built.
And people have gone all the way through secondary school since the hospital started. He deflected to the budget. So let us hear what the minister had to say during the budget debate of 2024.
While we're on the topic of the Alexandra Hospital, I take this time to fully acknowledge the delay of the expansion project. And I'm also taking the opportunity to reaffirm my ministries, my government, and my personal commitment to bringing this vision to fruition. As such, Madam President, now that we have secured the required bill of quantity documents, we have engaged our Taiwan partners and other technical partners to propel this project forward. Madam President, this commitment is evidenced by the $12 million budgeted for 2025. I hasten to add, Madam President, that at the hospital that we currently have, we remain steadfast in our commitment to providing critical, uncompromised.
Alan, the minister has spoken. They have the documents. They have engaged the Taiwanese. I'll just stop talk. We put 12 million in the budget. Your reaction?
If you are engaging the Taiwanese, once again, I am unaware of how you could have a budget. How much are the Taiwanese going to cost? Because remember now, we had the document, but now we have to go to the Taiwanese to get another agreement. So this is another set of confusion. And I would also say I appreciate the Premier finally being humble and taking our advice. We have suggested to him a long time ago, just let the Taiwanese finish all the project. I expect to hear that the Taiwanese are being consulted on the Mondo track in short order. Just remember I told you.
And on the airport?
Well, we're going to get to that. They have definitely been mentioned in the airport formally.
Okay, so the minister, he deflected to the minister. The minister, to save face, made a comment, which is neither here nor there. Because it is essentially still saying to the people, listen, we have the document. But you, the people who are voters in Nevis, you are only important at election time. So we don't have to share the document with you. We don't even have to give you an approximate figure to say that, okay, we have spent 20 million, and according to the best information that we have from the company in Florida, from the Taiwanese, it's going to take us another $2 million, another $20 million to finish. Somebody is calling, but we have asked that you hold the calls because we want to get through the issues, and we'll get to the hospital before we take the first set of calls. So hold the calls, caller, please, and we'll get back to you.
To add to your point, I just want to say that it is also counterintuitive when you are saying we do these press conferences to be accountable and to be transparent to the people. In a lot of these cases of these projects, which are gonna cost a lot of money, although they are needed, the Premier has not voluntarily come to the people in his open part of the press conference to update the people. It is always the responsibility of the journalists to constantly ask these questions. Otherwise, we will not have any update.
That's an important point. He normally speaks for in excess of an hour at the start of the press conference, giving information that you can find on community calendar, or you can just find on NNC. No new information really. But the substantive matters, he has not addressed the hospital in his opening statement. Those have to come from questions from reporters.
Indeed. And at times, it's kind of embarrassing in my estimation, because sometimes he says, I'm glad you raised that issue. When you should raise the issue of these things, in my estimation.
Well, we're going to go to clip number 13, the next clip from January.
Yes.
Let's go to the clip from January of 2025 on the hospital.
Christmas of last year. When does work resume on the hospital, and do I have an end date? The short answer is that I cannot respond to that yet because our assessment is ongoing. We have engaged various experts and individuals, construction firms, who are doing their final assessments, and we therefore hope to come back to you with accurate information about a start once they've done the assessment, and they will also be able to give us a sense of what the finish date is going to be like. But I'm reluctant to say we're going to start next month, and when it doesn't happen, then that of course leads to further chatter in the public sphere. So let us do what we need to do. Let us complete what we need to do. We are waiting now some reports, and once we have those, we'll be able to tell you definitively when we will restart.
That is shocking, because you can't say, listen, don't ask me the question. Let me get all the information that we should get, and then we'll answer. When they started the project, they started planning for the project in 2014. They cleared land in 2014. They started construction in 2017. And you're talking about so many years later. He's saying, Lord, give me a break. Don't ask me the question. And now I started to build. I know with Cultural Armor 50 coming, I painted the outside of the building to give people the impression that it was finished. Boy, give me a little break, man. I'm not ready to answer you yet. Shocking.
There is an attempt to kind of say he does not want to provide info. And once again, this is transparency. The transparency go with the accountability. Mr. Premier, if you have nothing to report, and the thing that you are telling us is of the highest priority going into 2025, well then the accountability only can come when you let us know there is nothing. We can't get to the accountability until we have the transparency. And part of the theme that you're going to see is constantly, we have what we finally need, followed by we are engaging with experts, various firms, all kind of this, all kind of that. Taiwanese, no, we gone to various forms.
Let me play the last one that we're going to do on the hospital. And that one is from April of 2025.
Island of Nevis. The final cost of the Alexandra Hospital, I'm going to delay that answer. The reason for that is that I can confirm that we now have the necessary information. We have 2 bids that have come in. We were waiting on some information, if you recall, from the Taiwanese. That information is now in hand, but it has not yet been evaluated by the cabinet. So it has been shared with the cabinet, but not yet dealt with. And so I would prefer to come back and let you know once the cabinet deliberations are complete. But I can say that the information that we were waiting on, we now have it. It has been provided to us. And I had given previous updates to say that we were waiting on some information. So, I'm sorry? The information is about costing. It's about what it would require to get us to the end of this project that we've committed to finalizing. So we want to restart the project this year and, of course, take it to completion. And we wanted to know what the cost was, what the steps that we needed to take, and to get professional expertise to bear on that. So the Taiwanese would have come. I think they made 2 visits to the island, and we were waiting on them. So they've now come back to us to tell us exactly what is what the amounts would be, etc. And as I said, we had a previous quotation as well. So we now have 2 that we can work with, and we're evaluating those. And I'll be pleased to come back once we're in a position to make an announcement as to when we start and how we're going to finance the project and take it to the end. But this is a project, I remind you, that we are very committed to finalizing. So we have the information now. It's just for us to take some decisions and then to report back to the public. My trip.
Very committed to finishing the project. I want to have you make a note of something. We have the document. The cabinet has not had a chance yet to review the document. Remember that, because you will hear that again when we speak about phase share in another program. But your reaction to that clip?
There is a lot going on in that clip. We have closed the loop. When scientists say time is a flat circle, see, we come right back around. Now we finally have it again. We always finally have the document. And the shocking part is you have this document that you are saying is a priority, and and you have not evaluated. And you have not come down and made an order to say, ladies and gentlemen of the cabinet, this is the most important thing. I promise this to the people in Nevis. We have to make this happen. You've got to evaluate it. I am not concerned with what you're doing now. This is the priority. And it is your role as a leader, you know. Your role as a leader is policy. This is not even policy that applies to the greater public. This is policy that applies to the cabinet. I need you to read these reports, and I have to have something to tell these reporters. It is mandatory.
Alan,
everybody weighing, and we move forward.
We have the first caller holding. We'll go to the line, but I'll tell you just one thing before we cross over to the telephone line. I served in a cabinet with a gentleman named Mr. Joseph Walcott Parry. And Mr. Walcott Parry convened a cabinet meeting at midnight, shortly after midnight, to deal with an important matter. At the administration building, I was at a town hall meeting in Brick Hill on the wind farm, which was an important event for us. This must have been around 2009. And I received a call from the cabinet secretary to say, listen, the premier wants to have a meeting at 10 o'clock. I said, no, I'm at a town hall meeting. You know, and I really can't leave. Say, what time will you be available? So I said as a joke, midnight? He said, well, midnight it is. We are going to be meeting at midnight to deal with an important matter. But here we have a matter as important and urgent as the hospital. And the premier said that the cabinet has not yet met to evaluate the reports. Let's take a phone call. Good evening, caller. Hello, good evening, caller.
Overload.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I had the wrong button down. Go ahead.
Another voice there.
Alan.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Powell.
How are you tonight?
Listen, you guys hit the nail on the head right now because, you know, Mr. Brantley had a show last night and I called him. And I had to remind him that the hospital wing started some 8 years and maybe, what, three weeks ago? And his response was that, okay, but the hospital wing started, but there's a hospital that is in place and is serving the people of Nevis and is doing a good job, a great job. And I'm like, no, this guy has to be mentally deranged. He has to be discombobulated because I don't understand that. His response was, yes, we are overdue and we don't need to give nobody in Nevis a response or an excuse as to why it's delayed. Now, I made a mention that when in 2014 there was a fire for the the Treasury building. I said, you guys hired a forensic fireman from Canada and you published a report. You published a report, you even read it out in the house. And I said, you got a report from the Taiwanese. So how come we can't have an idea as to what the Taiwanese are saying, where we at, where we're going, and where will we be anytime soon? His response was, that's none of your business. You understand? But, Mr. Powell, that hospital wing is like a noose over his neck, and he's suffering from that because he started with him. Because how can you say you're going to give somebody a job in the Federation who has no experience in terms of, you know, healthcare architecture, but you give him a job, and now 8 years and change after, you're suffering, but you're still wanting people to understand that, you know, we made a mistake. That's not a mistake. That was deliberate. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm out.
Thank you very much. Alan, may I give you a reminder that it was on another show on the topics that you finally got the premier, that show got the premier to admit that the numbers and the hospital were wrong. We're going to come to that, but we have two calls coming in at the same time. So we're going to take one. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you tonight?
I'm excellent. I know this is Tell Me, but I have a couple of questions. Well, not really. Well, the first one isn't really a question. You keep talking about the Minister of Health. Now, from my recollection, isn't the Minister of Health and the Premier one and the same?
Yes, but he has assigned that portfolio to Minister Nisbet.
Okay, all right. But he still holds the title of Minister of Health.
Yeah, and technically the Premier holds every ministry.
But not if there is blame. You must understand. Remember, he was in charge of the signs, and then as soon as the signs had incorrect spelling, Alexis became in charge of the signs. So he is not the minister when it comes to blame.
Well, I know on another matter, on this what's just being discussed now about these reports coming from the Taiwanese and somebody else. I find it strange that you start hiring experts 8 years after commencing.
That's a very fantastic point, sir.
I would have thought the experts should have come in before the project was finalized, let alone construction beginning. That's one thing. And then the final thing is the question. Can you tell me who in cabinet is capable of studying and reflecting on a report of this nature? You're talking about construction techniques, design, and costings. What member of cabinet is capable of making a decision on that?
Man, this is exam time. I thought you would give us a little easy question. That's a hard question. Only Jesus. They just pray to Jesus at the start of cabinet. Only Jesus in the cabinet could understand these.
Well,
None of the other human members would have that ability.
Isn't Mr. Liebert and Mr. Brand's background supposed to help them in this regard?
Alan, you are asking if it might help. Mr. Brand is the man who I am told designed the hospital. Why is it that they had to go overseas to get quantity surveys? Why is it that they had to go overseas to get people to determine the flow of the hospital? If he had that experience, why is it that we are stalled if Mr. Liebert has that experience? Maybe not even the Premier believe that Mr. Liebert has the experience because he is not using him in the Ministry of Communications and Works. He's in charge of libraries and education.
Well, I'm fascinated with who is going to be reviewing these reports. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, caller. Alan, I was about to remind you of something. The lines are open. We can take a couple of calls to deal with the hospital part of it. So if you, and we lost somebody who was calling in on the main line there. So you can call again, but let me, and somebody is calling. So we'll take the call one time. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Paul and Powell.
How are you tonight?
I'm giving God thanks. I am confused with the Premier's story. Last day leading up to the 50th anniversary, he said that he gave priority to Culturama 50 with construction. Well, after constructing the complex added, why is now doing a study? Shouldn't that been done before? I think this man is just buying time. And I am now appealing to the Nigerians abroad. You see how work happens in America and Canada and England and even in the Virgin Islands. You go to sleep and you wake up in the morning, you see a brand new house. One of my friends told me that he worked downtown Manhattan and there's an 88-story building. She almost completed. Less than 4 years. In Nevis, 2 floors going 8 years. And this is for the Nigerians abroad. If you think that we don't deserve better, I think that when you come to vote, you have to understand, you see, you know better. Doing better is voting against this thing because this is really upsetting. When the Premier is saying we have a hospital, the people them who have to go to be dialyzed in St. would have been dialyzed in Nevis. And so if he had prepared the hospital as planned according to him, they had a unit there. So people are suffering, people are dying, and that is his excuse. The hospital is there. Well, if there was no need, why construct? It had to be a reason why he didn't intend to construct something because there was a need. The Premier has outplayed his hand, and I don't care what you're going to tell Nevis people. Enough is enough. He has to go, whether we like it or not. Whoever like him, go by him and I play domino and have some drinks. But not to govern because he has failed miserably. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you very much. You are listening to Tell Me. Let's make sure that we make our sponsors happy because we need them to keep bringing in the check so we can stay online. We'll be back after this.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you will never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Listen, we're back with you on Tell Me, and you're having Powell overload. That's what we call it when Alan Powell joins his father, and we do a show for 2 hours, and we try to do this a couple of times a year. Let's go to the phone lines and say hello. Hello, good evening, caller.
Hello, good night.
It's a great night. How are you?
I'm fine, family. Hello, that lady just called. She's so right. That young man lost his way, and he should give up the country. He should give up a hospital. The man won't shame. I mean, this man used to say all kind of thing about Walcott Parry. All kind of thing. He come down Bastille and demonize people who know the job. Can I have a good night to you? And continue doing the good work for people in Nevis. Bringing the information.
You have a great night,
Good
caller.
night, Sister C.
Okay, Alan, let me see if you remember this.
Right now, there is a hospital project going on, but we've seen that it's incomplete. And not only that it's incomplete, it is, I think it's behind, and it's definitely over budget. So we would like to know, well, what are some of the issues?
Correct one aspect of your IRA. The hospital is not over budget.
It's not over
It
budget.
is behind, but it's not over budget. And I think our junior minister of health spoke to that eloquently in the last budget debates in the House in December. She broke it down. She explained what the budget was and how much has been spent thus far.
Okay,
so at
remind
this
us.
point, it is not over budget.
Remind us at this point. Do you remember those figures?
I believe that the number that she spoke to was somewhere in the region of 15 million or thereabouts, and I think she said that some 13 million has been spent thus far. But she did speak publicly on it in the budget debate.
So technically, yes. 15, 13 million, do we see it completing within budget? 2 million, you think?
Well, we will have to spend some extra money, yes. Okay. But at this point, I'm saying at this point, it is incorrect to say that the hospital is over budget because we've not yet even exhausted the initial amount.
I take that back. I take that part back. But what are some of the issues where we see why it's behind then? Well, if we have already budgeted for it.
First of all, it seems to me that in the ongoing discussion that people forget that we had 2 years of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it is not popular for people to talk about COVID because people see it as an excuse. But
COVID rescued a lot of people. You could blame COVID. And this one, he got all tied up. Minister Hazel Brandy had given some numbers. His new junior minister who replaced Hazel Brandy Williams said, no, 8 million, and I have my receipts, all my receipts. And then the premier had to come back and say, make a correction and say that they had spent more in the region of $15 million. Let's go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Powell Squared. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, couple of comments. I have observed that the common thread with the Premier seems to be he's never in a position to give an answer as it relates to the hospital. So my question is then, who is in a position in the cabinet to give adequate answers as it relates to the hospital? Secondly, since he has now brought in the experts, coming 8 years later, why can't the Premier have the experts at the press conference to enlighten us? Or Why can't the Premier have a town hall meeting on the hospital to enlighten the public about the hospital and the state of the hospital? I mean, there are several things you can do. If you don't have the answers, and if you're not in a position to give us answers, then bring the experts to the table, just like how you did for the airport, and have a town hall meeting with the public. Let people hear their views and ask questions, and let the experts answer. Because I would have thought that at least he would have one expert on hand, the designer of the hospital. So at least the designer of the hospital should be able to answer some questions. But it is very telling that not even the designer of the hospital, the Premier, is comfortable with. And that's the reason why he has never allowed the designer of the hospital to speak at a press conference. Because if he was confident in what he is doing and in the designer, then he should have had that person answering questions. But, you know, it's all these empty words that doesn't make any sense he gives at every press conference. He's going to get back to you. He's not in a position to answer. So, Mr. Premier, my simple question is, when are you going to get in position? And if you're not in position, who do we turn to ask these questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. Alan? Alan, you with us?
No, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I had mute my mic during the commercial.
Okay.
I was saying that I felt he made a wonderful suggestion because there are the Culturama town hall meetings or the Calypso 10 town hall meetings that are coming up. And it would be a wonderful thing if the Premier could elaborate on the hospital and some of these major projects. And so that it is not a regurgitation of NNC. I mean, we could watch NTV if we need to do that. We could watch 15 minutes of Nevis newscasts. But we do deserve to have some depth.
And it doesn't seem as if that is going to come from the Premier, because I listened to some clips from his show last evening, and he seemed to get very agitated when people talk about the hospital. He is rather deflecting and suggesting that anybody who want to ask about the hospital and resumption date, completion date, cost of the hospital, that they are aligned with the Nevis Reformation Party. Opposition, only opposition people want to talk about that. But if I were the Premier and that were the case, I would be embarrassed. I'd be very embarrassed if my own people can't look me in the eyes and say, listen, Mr. Premier, you messed up. You have wasted too much time on this hospital and it is not good for us. Alan, let's go to the phone lines again. Good evening, caller.
Good evening again, gentlemen. Very interesting show this evening. Just an observation. The clips you've played. Our Premier couldn't answer questions on the hospital because reports were pending. He didn't have access to them. But in the last clip, the reports have arrived.
Indeed.
But he still can't answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. The same is true of Fisher. So even when you get the reports from the experts, you still can't answer the press. I find that fascinating.
That is true.
And yet, if there were an
Thanks,
if there were an election petition, he would meet the deadline. It's only 21 days. You better believe he will meet the deadline. And these are the things that, when you have a priority, you could see how people react towards a priority. Another thing I wanted to wrap up with the hospital was that if you realize the nature of the reports transform, first it was design, then it was quantity takeoffs, and then it turned into casting. And at each stage, he always tell you, we finally have the report. and then we're waiting on another one. We have to talk to other experts. We have the report. We're talking to other experts. So this is the chain reaction that he's in. He gets reports. He doesn't consider them. He goes to and he gets another expert opinion, which he doesn't consider. And the project is just allowed to go on and on.
Yeah, but you also have to understand the point, and we want our viewers and listeners to know that these reports are not free.
No, very expensive.
It costs a penny, a pretty penny, to get these exports to come. And the Taiwanese were here twice, according to the Premier.
They are so expensive. Then the Premier said that he sued one of the providers when they could not provide him with drawings or something.
He did say that, but he has not come back to the public to say, and what became of that legal matter.
I get you. But when he sued, it was on the basis that work had not been done and money had been paid, a substantial sum.
Correct.
So as to your point, they definitely cost me.
Alan, the people want to hear from you, so they're calling in very often. Let's go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening, man. Good evening to you guys, man. How you guys doing tonight, man?
Excellent.
Doing well.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, Carlisle, you should know who this is, man. Anyway, let's get straight to it, man.
I have heard this voice before, but I don't recall the person specifically. I can't bring a face, but I know your voice.
That's very ironical, man. Carlisle, you see how irony can creep in? Very much sometimes irony can creep in. A lot of irony in the Federation. It looks like I'm gonna have to change my theme or my topic of my conversation, man. Because right out the door, irony has crept in. Yeah, good evening to you fellas again and to the people who listen home and abroad. Talking about reports and that clip where persons are calling in and that specific program, and it seems like they're ruffling feathers. Why we don't like to answer questions directly, I don't know. But there has been another report that has been made available recently, the Fair Share report. And to the Nivision people, that Fair Share report is huge. We've been going back and forth for decades about Fair Share for Nevis, and certain persons are under the assumption that the Team Unity administration broke up over Fair Share. And now we have the Fair Share report that was done by the World Bank. And you see that Fair Share report up there behind your sheep pen anywhere, man?
I haven't seen it.
We can't find the share.
No.
We can't find the Fair Share report right now.
No, we're going to deal with Fair Share as well, but we had a number of issues to deal with tonight, so we took that one off the table. But we will definitely deal with Fair Share in a future show.
Okay, no problem at all. So the reports that Alan been talking about the hospital, that we have the Fair Share report is missing. We can't get any conversation about that from the Premier and the Prime Minister. I don't know if they are a lot of heads about it or what, but they should have already done come to the public with that, and that Fair Share report should be made available to all the heads, leaders of each party in the Federation, and to the public as well. Okay, it's really appalling that we can't get these projects complete in Nevis. So now the financial burden seems like it's shifted to the federal government. That issue, the way how now we are dependent on the federal government for funding, is creating a thing between the Federation, because we're looking at our debt, the debt on both sides of the Narrows, and if one side are going to pressurize the other side financially, where is the two islands going to go? Where's the Federation is going to go on a whole? No efforts are being made to bring down the national debt on both islands. We just have these reckless spending. And Alan, I just found out that's the son of Carlisle.
Indeed, sir. Yes, sir.
Happy to hear that, man. Happy to hear that. And father-son combination sometimes can be good. We've been hearing a word that being bantered around, tag team. Well, you guys might be the new tag team, the newest tag team that I've heard. I've been hearing that word tag team recently. But anyway, Alan, you being a lawyer, man, we've been hearing a lot of chatter about the Christoph Harbor situation over there in St. Kitts. And I'm very concerned about that, seeing that we are talking about a future bridge between the islands. And Dwyer Astafan put out the commentary yesterday, I think Wednesday. And you being a lawyer, I don't know if you can ever get control of some of those deals and some of those behind the scene documents, because the commentary from Dwyer pointed out some stipulations in some of these crazy corrupted deals that been happening in the Federation. And
Caller, I'm going to pause you gently, because we have a couple of specific areas that we need to get into. And Alan send me about 30 clips that we have to play tonight.
Okay, no,
and we only finish about 6 or so. But we will definitely get to Christoph Harbor, because you know I have an interest in the bridge. And we will definitely get to Fair Share. Okay?
No problem at all. So the Fair Share report,
we will get to that.
The legalities of the Christoph Harbor deals that I want Alan to maybe touch on if he can.
We'll get to those, not tonight,
really,
but we'll get to those.
Yeah, this is the first
no problem,
I'm
man. You guys have a good night, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
This is the first I'm hearing about the commentary from Dwyer, so I would have to listen to that to get some context as to what is taking place.
Okay, Alan, let's go and hear from our sponsors again, and then when we come back, we're going to switch topics. We move into the airport next, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Back right after this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico,
tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, baby.
Beanie Man, we're saying thank you very much. And we always enjoy your singing and tell me and all of that. But we're back because we have a large number of issues to get to. And let me say very quickly before we get back to tell me, is that Nevis will be hosting regional cricket for the first time in about 20-something years. Under 19 cricket comes to Nevis starting on the 3rd of next month, and next month being July. Barbados will play Guyana on the 3rd. On the 6th, the Windwards plays against Jamaica. On the 9th, the Windwards against USA 2. On the 12th, the Leewards against Trinidad and Tobago. On the 15th, Jamaica against the USA 2. On the 18th, the Leewards against USA 1. On the 21st, Trinidad and Tobago against Guyana. And then on the 24th, the 7th place team against the 8th place team. So starting on the 3rd and heading right down until the 24th, regional under-19 cricket will come to Nevis at the ETW Willett Park. And so if you enjoy cricket, you come on out and support the teams. And we have a large amount of people here from all over the place, all the islands, all the countries. So you come out to the ET Willett Park and enjoy some under-19 cricket. Alan, when you played under-19 cricket for the Leewards, you didn't get a chance to play in Nevis?
No, sir.
Where did you play?
Jamaica, St. Vincent, and Guyana.
Okay, so you had 3 years of under-19 cricket for the Leewards. Well, we're going to get a chance to go to the E.T. Willett Park and look at some under-19 cricket. The Leewards will be camping in Nevis starting from this weekend. And so we wish the guys all the very best. Now,
wait, I want to say one thing before we move on.
Go right ahead.
Well, you were attacked for not doing anything to raise money for the Nevis Cricket Association. And I just wanted to point out that the hosting of these events and actually having El Comida Willett Park in a condition to receive these teams is very important, because one of the things that happens, Mr. Premier, the Cricket Association gets to benefit from hosting these events. You will get to say in your next press conference that we are hosting the what is it, the West Indies Under-19 tournament. All of this is beneficial, and this is why I'm saying, I know that you all have to fight politically, but still at the end of the day, he gets to shine when the cricketers do well. He gets to take the pictures, and you get the benefit of the support of the government. It has to work hand in hand, at least with regards to the cricket. So I just feel like it's important. And also to look at this, Sinkage has been hosting a lot of tournaments. It is not by a mistake that they have fixed up Canary, that they fix up over Sandy Point and these places.
St. Paul's and Cairn and so on.
Yeah, having these grounds does matter, and you get travel between the islands, because Sinkage is also hosting, so it's good. He gonna post again about the boats. It is a wonderful thing when it happens. So there should be an investment in El Comida Willett Park, because going to these places in Guyana too, you don't have to be an international venue, but had a wonderful experience. Played Defense Force in Jamaica, play out in the bush in Guyana, and in good conditions. You just want good conditions to play in these tournaments, and it's important.
Listen, Alan, I took my word, but at the end of it, we got a check. So I took my word and got the check. And the point that you made is so absolutely important. If we do not have the E.T. Willett Park in a condition to host regional matches, we lose out on our most important fundraising event. You cannot have the E.T. Willett Park looking like 1980 and expect that we are going to have regional matches in Nevis. So even for this tournament, which is coming up, they are busy at the park now doing some upgrades to the dressing room and the the kitchen and the dining room and so on, to make sure that we can host our visitors in a state where they will be happy to say, we came to Nevis, we played, and we want to come back. Because this tournament, I understand, will be in St. Kitts Nevis for the next 2 years. This year plus 2 more. So if we do a good job, the Cricket Association will be able to show that we can host these matches. And we'll make a couple of dollars. And then we wouldn't have to go to the Premier to ask him for as much. We would still ask. It is his role, it is his government's role to look after sports in the island. And so we are still going to ask, but we'd ask for less.
But also, the venue belongs to the government.
Ah,
so this is
important
not
point.
This is not a thing where the Cricket Association could just take matters solely into its hands. And that's why I'm saying there has to be some type of collaboration so that there is synergy.
Mhm.
So that because it's gonna benefit everybody. Everybody gonna be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let me see. 18, I think it's about 18 years, nearly 20 years we haven't hosted. One of the last matches that was played here was when Kyron made his debut. And he was about 18 years at that time.
Mm.
So you're talking nearly 20 years ago. And
records have been broken in
Mhm.
the E.T. Willard Park. I think the record for the most wickets
Yep.
in a match. I saw the match, and also you have the opportunity. You could send your young under 19 players into these dressing rooms, so that they could be around the Guyanese players, this type of players, and they could see different strategies, and you could kind of measure yourself too, because you get to play against them in the nets. It is important.
We are using our under 15 players as room attendants, as scorers on the scoreboard, and we're making sure that they will be around to watch these matches. So yes, important point. It's 9:17. We are going to move to the airport. Let me start in September of 2024.
In terms of the airport expansion, I believe that the design work is now complete. I am told by the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, who's leading that effort, that the submissions to the planning department should have occurred this week. In fact, I was told it should have been submitted today. I'm not sure if he was able to meet that deadline. The negotiations with the landowners, I believe that is now substantially complete. And we have sought some financing through an arrangement with the federal government in order for us to proceed with that project. And so we anticipate that we will have a groundbreaking on that project this year. That is the intention, that we should be able to proceed this year. Again, a precise date I don't have. I do know that the Honorable Jeffers has said that he would like to have one final large public consultation now that the designs are done and the EIA, well, social, what's it called now? SIEA, social, SEIA, social and environmental impact assessment. Now that that is substantially complete, so that the public, and of course we have to publish that, make it available usually at the local library and at planning, so that members of the public can see what the social and environmental impact is likely to be. So we are going about it in a very deliberate way to ensure that once that project starts, we move to completion and we do all that we need to do upfront so that there are no delays in relation to that particular project. So we anticipate a groundbreaking this year, and I will come back to you in terms of a specific date when we expect the hospital project to restart. But just know,
September of 2024, they're expecting a groundbreaking. Something broke, but not the ground for the airport.
We now will be entering the second phase of the imaginary groundbreakings. Because if you recall, the hospital would have had several times where it was also going to restart. In this case, we just needed to start. We never start the engine, so we just needed to start, and we have not gotten that yet.
And the EIA, they said, was going to be in public places so that people could go on and look at it and so on. These fellows working backwards, eh?
It has to be digital in 2025. It can be. I'm not saying that you shouldn't also have it at the public library. Yes, absolutely. But it must be digital. For example, one of the things people criticize locals who live abroad is that they say they are not kept aware of, they are not aware of what is going on in the country. If you are somebody who is going to be offered a plane ticket in 2028 to come back to Nevis to vote, shouldn't you have access to the airport plans? It shouldn't just be in a library. This thing has to be digital. Tell us, log on to the website and you could see the EIA right there. Because when you make it as simple as we could do it on our phone, then people have no excuse but to be informed.
Absolutely right. Let's go to October of 2024. And again, we ask you to hold the calls a little bit.
Impact. I'm not even sure how to answer that. We intend to build the airport. Those plans are progressing nicely. In fact, I'm told by the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, who's leading that project for us, that we should be having a major public consultation shortly. The 14th of November. So the date has been fixed on the airport. The extension of the runway ought not to impact Nisbet because we're not going into Nisbet's property in any way, shape, or form. We had some delays in terms of negotiations for landowners in the area, but those are now, we're proud to say, pleased to say, completed. So just a question of paying landowners and moving on. We have negotiated and are in the process of finalizing funding for the buyout of the lands in the area, and we hope that that can be forthcoming very shortly because we've already had, I'm told, approval of the term sheet. It's just a question of settling that. And I want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister because I approached him with a funding mechanism, and through his office and his assistants we were able to get that funding mechanism approved by his cabinet. So we anticipate that we will be in a position to pay out the landowners in short order, and thereafter we hope that we can proceed with the development over there. So we are proceeding with what we can proceed with, which is the airport development. These developers...
You're talking about October of 2024, Alan, where the Premier said two things that jumped out at me. They're going to go right up next to the boundary of Nisbet Plantation, but it will not impact them. I was an airport manager for 20 years. And there was a fellow over there named Mr. Barnum. Barnum and I used to have lunch once a week. He used to call me every Thursday. And I used to go and I just had a Coke. And Barnum used to ask the same question. When are you going to stop the planes from flying over my house? And you're now talking about jets which are louder. And the airport is going to go even closer to Nisbet's plantation. But he says it will not impact the hotel. That is not what the new owners are saying.
Well, he has brought in scientists, well, not scientists, the consultants. You know that I learned that Perez Consultancy has an office in Nevis? I didn't know that today. But they have an office in Nevis. And they are 9 years old as well.
Okay, so they've been around a long time.
I learned a little bit about them too. With regards to what the Premier just said, it's more, well, this was when Dr. Drew officially entered this chat because he thanked Dr. Drew. He approached Dr. Drew and I think he said he secured $7.5 million US. So this is the money which we know. At least we have a concrete figure in this regard. The total money that is used to acquire the lands around the airport is supposed to be approximately $20 million. So we have that information and I'm thankful for that.
But in some other clips, Alan, you would learn that even though the arrangements were made at the National Bank and that the $7.2 million US has been earmarked for the lands at the airport, the Nevis Island administration seemed to be facing hurdle after hurdle in getting drawdowns from the National Bank. Because in other clips, you're going to hear that the goalpost has moved and they needed some other piece of document and something. The landowners, to the best of my knowledge, have not been paid yet.
One of the things that I have been kind of critical of the Premier is your boss. You have a wonderful laugh on. Can't take it away from me. One of the impacts I thought that he would have had is an improvement from the legal advisor and from that office, because now you don't just have the resources of Mark Brantley, you know. Now you got government resources. But you hear constantly in these deals, because regardless of what you say, even if cabinet has to consider the hospital reports and so, I would imagine somebody from the legal department also has to consider these reports. And as you said, when we are getting hurdle after hurdle and we're hearing technical this after technical this, we're supposed to do this and we're just waiting for the drawdown. But we're going to hear about that. That's been disappointing, because as I said, if it's an election petition, Mr. Brantley gonna cross all the I's and all the T's and dot all the I's. But with regards to contracts, we just constantly, we in the Olympics and we're doing hurdles.
Let's go to November of 2024.
So the financing on it, we are, I believe, I'm hopeful that by the time I get to the budget discussions, I'll be able to announce concrete plans on the financing, but I can say that we are satisfied that we should be able to commence this project very early in 2025. That our financing is in place and we are now just trying to finalize our documentation on it. And even if we have to ultimately do this project in phases, we have secured the financing to deal with the runway expansion. So what we call the east side facilities, that financing has been secured, and we have secured the financing through the assistance of Prime Minister Drew on Sinkits for the land acquisition that is necessary. And I'm hopeful that if all goes well, we should start soon to pay out on the lands that we would have had acquired. And I want to thank the landowners in the area. They have been very cooperative in the main, and I really want to thank them for their assistance and for them buying into the idea that an expanded airport is good for all of Nevis.
Go ahead.
He said we have secured the financing at least 65 times and cannot tell us what is the cost.
Exactly.
We have secured the financing. How much it costs, Mr. Premier? Don't ask me that.
Correct.
And one of the things that we must understand with regards to this particular venture, this is what he called the public-private venture. And this is Mr. Drahi. We must know what are the terms that we are going to sign this for. There are a number of creative ways you could do the deal. I just want to know which one he chooses as the one to do the deal. And how much are we going to pay back? Because Mr. Drahi is going to be responsible for what he says the ESI, the extension of the runway, the new private VIP terminal, the fuel farm, and all these type of things. This is not cheap. So it is imperative that we know the terms of this agreement. You can't say we secure the financing. And when you say we secure the financing, because I think at this particular moment all the information come in. But you must now be able to tell me, well, what's the number? That's it. You can't tell me you got the financing 65 times, but then when I say, and the number is, have an objection. That's my problem.
Here is a bigger problem that I have, Alan. When he was asked a question by the leader of the NRP as to whether or not a deal had been signed with Dry, he says there is no deal. We haven't signed a deal. When we sign something, I will advise you and the general public. But he's speaking with such confidence about Drahi and what Drahi will fund. It makes me believe that something has been signed, that something is in place. Because Drahi as a businessman is not going to commit his funds without a deal being signed. There must be an agreement in place. The Premier, I find, is not being honest with the public.
Mark Brantley, as an attorney, knows what the term secured means. Because you know, there's secured loans and unsecured loans. When you tell me we have secured the financing, is only one thing you could mean. And this is why I attribute intelligence to the Premier. He knows exactly what I mean. Secure the loan. So if there is any issue going forward, then it was not secure. It was insecure. Well, he is insecure, but the loan or the money is unsecure. And we just need to know the actual figure.
Let's go to January of 2025.
And public consultations. We will hope to be able to provide an update on that shortly. I think we're now in the process of finalizing the property transfers. We have secured a loan for that purpose, and we hope that we'll be in a position to do those payouts very shortly. I've been saying that for some time, but you know how these financial houses work. The last report we got from our bankers is that they had some final process to resolve, and then we hope that the funds will be made available. Once those funds are available, we can then do what is the most critical first step, which is to buy the lands that we need for the expansion. In terms of further public consultations, I'll have to check on that. Of course, we've already done 3 public consultations on this airport project. I will have to find out whether or not there will be a final consultation. I'm not yet certain. But the last one we did was at Pond Hill Community Center. That was just before Christmas of last year.
The Premier is either very, very clever or very, very shady or both. He said that they were in the process of finalizing the transfers. Maybe he misspoke, because shortly after that he said, well, you know, we have not yet had access to the funds. So the lands have not been paid for. How could you finalize transfers before the people have been paid for their lands?
And this is why I feel he himself should come forward and update. You say something, because when you wait to be asked a question, nothing is coming out properly. And I was glad that we were able to do this, because it is important to see in a sequence, time after time, the subtle changes. And in some of them, I can't tell you that the Premier is lying. But if you look, because we don't even have the benefit, like the audience can't see his body language. But if you looked at his body language in some of these, it's not good. It's not good. He's looking up in the sky. He's nervous all of a sudden. Mark Brantley is not a nervous man.
February of 2025.
Thank you very much for your questions. Patrick Dry, no longer an investor. You say you're from Win FM. I think Win FM is a reputable news agency. Stop reading so much foolishness. Every morning I wake up, I can't keep up. It look like people just go sleep and they wake up in the morning and say, let me throw this out here. And the difficulty that I have is our established media gobble it up and start to talk about it and give it life. Utter rubbish. I saw some stupidness. Somebody said me the other day that Bill Gates is now financing the airport and putting in $70-something million, and the airport, they even give you a figure, you know, $70-something million. I said, my goodness, I wonder if Mr. Gates is aware, because we have had no conversation with Mr. Gates about any airport. Mr. Drahi remains on board as the investor with us, and I don't know where these Nancy stories are coming from, but to put it directly to you, there is absolutely no truth to the idea that Mr. Drahi has pulled away. The airport expansion plans, we are still on target. I will tell you that the difficulty we've had has really to do with some practicalities of the land purchases that we need to do in the area. We have secured the loan from National Bank, but we keep going back and forth, them saying they want this, they want that in terms of supporting documentation. So the money is there. It's just a question of us doing the drawdown and doing the payout. In the meantime, the lawyers are doing their work in order to have the transfers done in a seamless fashion. So we expect that once those lands are acquired, we will fence and we will proceed. One of the first projects you're going to see over there is the new road, because we have to realign the Island Main Road. So we hope to get that going very quickly. You said the end of the first.
We're still driving on the old road and I haven't seen any fencing. It means that they still don't have access to the funds.
Still no access to the funds. And now we hear, as I had mentioned earlier, him said the lawyers are working. You know, there are technicalities with Mr. Premier. It is a financial institute, it is a bank. Of course they require information. This is once again, it's stunning to me that they have done these negotiations with these landowners and they did not say, well, let me see the title. They don't check to see what's going on, because some of that is what is going on with this. So the lack of proper due diligence is staggering in my estimation.
Let's go to March.
I apologize. Airport expansion, we are proceeding apace. I think that we should be on target to break ground very soon. I don't yet have a date as to when we'll break ground, but I expect it will be soon because we have done most of what we need to do in terms of preliminaries. The last item left is really to pay landowners. We have been held up because of some technical issues with the bank, the St. Kitts and Nevis National Bank, but I was told just last week that everything that needed to be done has now been finally done. So I'm anticipating that we will be able to draw down and pay out, and thereafter we hope to move in terms of securing the site and doing the necessaries there. So we expect that that project is going to kick off. The estimated time is 18 months to completion. So we are really hopeful that by the end of next year, start of the tourism season next year, we'll have a brand new facility there.
Still had technicalities with accessing the funds in March. I've had a loan or two, and once you provide the security that the bank requires and you sign the document, you normally get access to the funds. Something is amiss here because we keep hearing month after month that there are some technicalities, despite the number of lawyers working on the matter and all the good people at the Ministry of Finance and so on, still technical issues.
Am I supposed to interpret that the Premier is giving some kind of word to the legal department?
Possibly.
This is kind of a common theme that I'm hearing here. It is either legal department or National Bank, but there is an issue somewhere with these funds, and we can't move to any other phase until they own the land.
Correct. Okay, let me take you to April.
Back up to ask me where we are on the airport. We anticipate that we should be able to break ground very, very shortly. We have had a number of what I would call administrative hold-ups on the land acquisition. Administrative in that we have secured funding, we've been told that the funding is there, but the drawdown of those funds, we've met one, this clause need to be tweaked and little things like those. But I was advised last week that we had finally come to the end of those issues, and so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to draw down shortly. An individual will be able to collect the monies that are owed to them for their lands. Of course, we must acquire the lands before we can proceed, and so we anticipate, Ms. Budgeon, that we will be able to proceed with that very, very shortly. And I'm hopeful that we could have a groundbreaking ceremony in June, and if we can achieve that, then the construction period is intended to be 18 months. So I'm still optimistic that by the tourism season of 2026 tourism season, if we can get going this June, we should be in a position to move forward. Right? Yeah, 2026 will be 12 months, and the 6 months that is this year will give us about 18 months. So that's the idea.
What has changed, Alan, in all of these updates? I mean, the groundbreaking was moved from January to May to June to soon to very, very soon.
Well, no, first it was November, no?
Yeah, correct.
First it was November, and then November, no. I gonna update you during the budget. And then it continued to be very, very soon. We're gonna break ground very, very soon. We have the money. We have the money. We have access to the money, but we can't draw down. If you can't draw down, you know, access to the money. You know, that's not how it works.
Exactly.
You've got to be able to draw down to have access to the money. And once again, little tweaks here are there. What is the legal department doing? What is taking place? I cannot understand.
I tell you something. The tower and the work on the tower, that does not depend on the acquisition of new lands. Nobody has said to us that the tower will change location. And so at least if Drahi is still involved, then they can start accessing the Drahi funds to do the work on the tower. Certainly. You know, but we haven't seen any of that at all.
Well, what we are gonna hear shortly, because the tower part, the premier is trying to build this airport for free.
Mm-hmm.
He wants Drahi to pay for the air side. He would like the Taiwanese to pay for the tower and the terminal and all of that, and he don't get his $20 million from Dr. Joe. So he would like to get the airport for free.
Stay on the line. Good evening, caller.
Good evening again. Hearing you speak about this airport, we've heard about designs, we've heard about social and environmental impact assessments, all of these studies, but I have not heard any mention of, to my mind, the most important study of all, and that is a feasibility study. Because you have to remember that government doesn't make any money. So whatever money is spent there is going to be paid for. The interest, the payback, the principal payments is going to be paid for by every man, woman, and child in St. James Parish, St. George's Parish, St. John's, St. Paul's, and St. Thomas Parish. That is who is going to pay for this airport. But yet I have never heard any mention of a feasibility study or it being published so the public can see how their money is being spent. Because it ain't government money, you know. It's not the premier money. It's not Alexis Jeffers' money. It is the people's money. And the people will have to take it out of their pocket every time they buy a loaf of bread. Money going to go to government with that. Right? Every time they do anything, they bring something in. You got customs, got all of that. Right? That money that the people are giving to the government is what is going to have to finance this project. Because I don't care how much funding you get. They're not gifts. You have to pay them back. And I have not heard any mention of a feasibility study. And I would have thought that would have come right up front in the project.
Good point, caller. Thank you very much. No, because the numbers that I heard about with the Drahi plan and so on, the amount of money that the airport is estimated to make on completion is less than what is required to repay. So I don't know how that is going to work. Seems like the airport, even when it is done, Nevis will be in the red for a long time to sustain the airport.
And this is the reason why I wanted to speak about these projects, because these are major projects and we are already at a level of $550 million in debt. Earlier, when a caller mentioned that Syncits is involved in the completion of so much projects, it is because people are looking at the, although the Premier said he does not know the GDP of Nevis, people could look at the budgets, they could look at what has been collected, they could look at the expenditure, and ultimately, the budget of Nevis is crippled if the fair share money does not come. In that scenario, even in that scenario, Nevis has still been consistently underwater. So when you are looking at the viability of the NIA to PEBA and these major projects, it simply does not exist. You cannot responsibly say, hey, I'm gonna give the NIA X, because you're gonna look at the track record, and that's why when it comes to the guarantee part, you hear the Premier go down to St. Kitts and say, Dr. Joe, how you could help me with this? Because ultimately, he can't get the funding unless it's a minor project.
Good evening, caller. Oh, Lord, sorry, we lost that call. Caller, please call back.
Hello, good evening.
Oh, it's still online. Go ahead, caller.
I used to hear my mother say, when you could hide from a thief, you can't hide from a liar. And if you can't hide from a liar, you have to free the liar. I have listened to these different clips, and I hear 4 dates, 4 different times that we got the money. We got the money, and we got the funding, and we got the money. And then you hear 3 different dates at the starting at the airport. And then you hear set a different time, we're going to be paying for the land. I mean, how much more we have to put up with? You just can be lying and lying and lying to us. And I wonder if he does be laughing now while he tell himself, if he not know you tell liar. Because this not sound good, it'll look good. I'm hoping he listening tonight. And I'm hoping he got people sitting and listening. And they scold him, because that's what used to happen when you tell lie. They scold you before they start to beat you. This is very sad. He is the Premier of this country. He's not a little boy down the road to tell a story. And you can't just keep telling us dates and times and it's not happening. And he's saying it every month. But as the people say, with no water in his mouth, he's very comfortable with his stories. And that is frightening, because then how do we believe him? How can you believe somebody when they constantly lie to you? This is sad. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you very much, caller. Alan, let's go to May.
We are at a stage now where we are seeking to draw down funds from the National Bank to pay landowners. We have written to the National Bank requesting that we have the initial tranche of funds. I think that letter would have gone out. I believe I saw it either late last week or early this week. And so we are optimistic that we'll be in a position to start to pay the landowners. The legal work has been done. It's just a question of transferring funds and ensuring that we now have title. Once we have that, then the intention is to proceed with some alacrity to securing the property and then to start declaring work for purposes of this project. Remember, members of the press and public, that this project is being done in various parts. The land side of the project, that is the terminal expansion and improvement, the fire hall expansion and improvement.
Alan, let me give you phase 2 and phase 3 right after that, and then you can comment.
The air side of the project, that is things now like the runway extension, the fuel farm, so allow us to sell fuel, jet fuel, and the upgrades that are necessary, lighting, emergency, even the current runway has to be strengthened as we anticipate larger aircraft landing. All of that is being dealt with through a facility that we have not yet concluded but are close to concluding with Mr. Patrick Drahi and his companies. We have been in close negotiations with them now for several months, and I believe are now very close to finalizing that. That aspect will be funded that way. And then the third aspect of it.
We'll get to the third aspect right after this. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Powell and Powell.
How are you?
Yes, sir.
I'm doing fine. Now, my question, correct me if I'm wrong. When the airport was done before, and you had all those homeowners and landowners down on that side, wasn't houses built for them before? The government went to them, talked to them, and built houses and relocate them before they was given money for the property?
I was the airport manager at the time. There was a gentleman, a very good engineer we had here named Freddie Clark, who was given the job to go and speak with those landowners and homeowners. And yes, they had houses, persons who took that option. They had houses which were constructed for them, which are still there today. They were properly built. And so it was properly done. This government is behaving as if we have never done work of this nature before. So it looked like something is a new mystery. And only they have the ability to deal with things like these. But yes, you are correct. Those persons got their houses when they were relocated.
So they get the houses when they was relocated. So these people I'm hearing now, all those clips I'm hearing is that we have the money to pay the people for their lands. Where the people are going to live after they don't pay them for their land, where they're going to live.
Well, I'll tell you something, caller. Most of the lands that I am told involved this time around are lands, not necessarily lands with houses. You know, so they're talking about paying people for empty lands, but they can't even get access to the money. That's the problem.
Mr. Powell, the land that they're talking about might be more lands, but there are some houses going right up the road there. At least two I can put in my head right now, possibly 3 or 4, gone up the road towards the area they said they're going to lengthen. These people want a place to live when they're going to be relocated. I gone.
Thank you very much. Good observation. Alan, no foundation work has started yet, so not a soul. If there are houses towards the eastern end of the runway where people have to be relocated, I am not aware that the government is making arrangements to house those people. Let's go to phase 3.
Funded that way. And then the third aspect of it, without which we cannot proceed, is the land acquisition. We have not compulsorily acquired any lands in the area. We have negotiated with landowners and come to agreed pricing. And that land acquisition is being funded to the tune of $7.5 million through a loan from the St. Nevis Anguilla National Bank. And that loan is guaranteed by the federal government and is being repaid through an arrangement with the federal government. And so those are the 3 aspects of the project and how the 3 aspects are going to be funded.
Alan, sometimes I wonder whether or not Dr. Drew, in facilitating the loan through National Bank, tied it up in such a knot that it would take an extraordinary long period of time for Nevis to get the money. This seemed like jumbie money. It just seemed like Nevis not supposed to access the $20 million.
Well, the note I have here is the Premier got the most draws. He continues to get the jadong, and nothing a come down.
Not a thing.
We can't get the money. He also had a moment there, because he said there are 3 aspects. One key aspect that he refused to speak about is the funding that he's trying to get from Taiwan for the terminal, for the tower. You know, if you notice just now, when he talk about the 3, he talk about getting the land, he talk about the air side, and then he talk about getting the land again.
Mm-hmm.
So he skipped out the terminal aspect, which we need to know that number. That number, if he does not get it from Taiwan, then that's Nevis gonna have to pay for that. So that would be in addition to, you would have to know the terms for that, in addition to how much ever you're going to have to pay back to Drahi. Those two things that are the biggest impact. The only thing I could see we ain't going to have to pay back is the money to Dr. Joe. But this money is months now. This money supposedly in the bank and we can't get the money.
But listen, I suspect that when he went and engaged Dr. Joe first up, that he thought that he was going to get a grant to pay for the lands. Two things jump out at me. The lands, the money that he said he's getting from National Bank, you're talking about 20 million. But the true cost of the lands, I'm told, is closer to 30 million. So there is already a gap in the funding there. But you just made a statement that the monies won't have to be paid back. How do you mean won't have to be paid back? It's through National Bank getting a loan. This is not a grant. So the bank would expect that they would get back their money.
Well, this is another thing. Eh? The Premier has been speaking with so much of webs and things because he does refer to things as a facility. He also, when he's speaking about Drahi, the first time he talked about Drahi, he said we're negotiating with an entity.
Mm-hmm.
So he almost been sound like is a supernatural being or something. We negotiating with an entity. He didn't even say one of his companies like Sotheby's or Alstis Group. He said an entity. And then now he said we are negotiating a facility. All of these complicated terms are not necessary and are meant to put the wool in front of your eyes. We not got to hear all of them things about facility and entity. And it's important to know whether we're dealing with the entity or the individual. Because as I said, your company does not mean that that is you. The company gonna got directors who gonna have a fiduciary duty to the company. You yourself is a totally different circumstance. It's like if you get money from Steve Jobs, that does not mean that you get money from Apple. No? If you get money from Bill Gates, that does mean that you get money from Microsoft or the Bill Gates Foundation. So him referring to take people as entities and facilities, it does get kind of confusing, but I know what it is meant to do by speaking in all of this gibberish.
Alan, it is 9:57 and we still have a whole topic that we have not touched.
Well, I want to propose something to you.
Tell me.
Would you like us to do the geothermal and what was the next one what we got to do?
We have, remember we took fair share off the counter for now.
Well, so
and we still have geothermal to go.
So what I was wondering is if you want us to do geothermal and fair share together.
We can.
Yes.
But I don't want to wait for 6 months.
We don't have to be, because we don't got the geothermal.
Okay, great. So 9:58 then. Let me just play this one clip to sum up exactly what we spoke about tonight with respect to the premiere that we have here.
On the geothermal project, I want to say that my update is I do not have an update. Geothermal, I don't have any fresh news. I wish I knew that you would ask the question about fiscal performance because I have the numbers. I just don't have them with me. You asked about the broiler project. I really do not have an update, but I assure you the next time I come back, I hope to have an update. I did not speak to the minister prior to coming here. CBI revenue on the fair share issue, I do not have a report on that. Status of the Alexandra Hospital, I don't have an update today. The broiler industry in Nevis, again, I do not have an update that I can give. Geothermal update, I have no further updates since the last time.
I just thought I would close off with that because our premier goes to press conferences where he's the only minister in his cabinet who is allowed to speak. And he goes there knowing that there are certain projects which are pressing and which the people of Nevis need information on. But he likes to say when the questions are asked, I do not have an update. I don't know why he come to these press conferences and he just talk for an hour and a half and give you all kind of old news. And then on the critical issues, he does not have an update.
Susie Warner said that should be a ringtone.
I agree. I totally agree. Alan, it was my pleasure having you here for 2
No
hours.
problem.
I want to thank Dr. Daniel, Dr. Daly, and Tulu for understanding that every now and again I actually look forward to speaking with Alan Powell on this show that we call Powell Overload. So we're going to schedule number 5. And I'm sure I'm going to, we have the work done already on geothermal. So we just have to do the work on the phase shear and any other topic that we plan to put in. But what we want people to understand is that we systematically laid out these clips for you this evening to show what progress or lack thereof we have had with respect to the airport and the hospital. The Premier likes to say that he believes in transparency and his government has come to the people and has been transparent. I've never seen a more shady, cloudy, dark, transparent issue. Transparency for him is just in words. But your closing statements, Alan, and you and I will decide when we'll get together again for Tell Me Overload number 5.
I love Iona's suggestion. She said that somebody need to make a song. A Calypsonian need to do a song about the updates. I don't have an update. That would be phenomenal right now. A dramatization. It was nice to be with you. Nice to be on Tell Me. Well, from my studies is the biggest show in Nevis. And that would certainly make it one of the biggest shows in the Federation. So it was nice to be here with you. I hope that the audience was enlightened. I wanna take one little swipe before I leave. I am shocked at the chairman of Culturama. Tomorrow is the launch of Culturama. The chairman of Culturama promise, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, that for the launch we're gonna go somewhere new, because he said, I have this thing and it's so exciting that when I tell you, I won't just tell everybody, and it gonna be too much. I gonna explode. And tomorrow we are gonna be right back at the waterfront as usual, doing the same old things. It astonishes me because, Mr. Chairman, your responsibility as the chairman of Culturama is to bring awareness to the festival and to bring excitement. You claim that you had a location or you had some set type of announcements that would bring awareness and excitement, and your failure to produce such. And from what I've seen of Culturama so far, good luck with that, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, I hope I am safe. But, Mr. Chairman, you cannot fail to bring awareness or to raise value of Culturama. And by not announcing anything or by building up fake hype, you have lost the plot, sir. I hope that you continue and you are able to recover. But it makes no sense to overpromise and underdeliver. I prefer if you tell me buy things tight this year, but I'm going to do the best I could do. So that is my little swipe at Culturama. I wasn't pleased with that.
I will continue just where you left off, Alan, by saying, listen, when I saw on the program to be determined for the location for the launch of Culturama, I shook my head, because it was only ever going to be at the complex, at Malcolm Gishard Park, or at the waterfront. Only ever going to be. I don't think that they were ever considering taking the launch over to the Orly Pier or to the Four Seasons Hotel. So that set of hot air that came from my good friend Swain, I didn't appreciate it at all. Secondly, Swain must have been deflated when CCM sent out a schedule of town hall meetings with several of those meetings clashing with Culturama events, including some Calypso shows. And even when they pulled back that schedule and reissued it, they still have a function which is happening on the start date of the Mango Festival. I note that the Premier had Mr. Jones on with him last night for just a little 15-minute monologue. He didn't engage him in any way in anything resembling an interview. So I don't know if he has problems with Mr. Jones, or if he has problems with Mango Festival, or if he just don't care. Back to Culturama. The only signs that I've seen in Nevis advertising Culturama are a sign at the airport advertising Culturama 50, and one down by the Nevis Nice sign which is advertising Culturama 50. Nobody has bothered to advertise Culturama 51. So as far as they're concerned, Culturama 50 was it. Culturama 51, they're not concerned about that. That is why they put their town hall meetings to clash with events for Culturama 51. I would not be surprised if the Premier pulls a sick during Culturama like he did a couple of years ago and stay at home so that he is not out and about, because they have already given up on Culturama 51. I am following Corey Massablo, who has been such an important feature of our Culturama with the long jam and so on. There seem to be certain things that he's not pleased about, and every now and again he sends out something that hints that there is more to come. All I am saying to the Culturama committee and the Culturama minister and the whole government, Culturama is bigger than any one individual. Culturama is supposed to be something where you embrace all the people of Nevis. We know that the government has already made a decision that they will not advertise on 2020 Vision Radio. That is your loss, because you're losing a significant amount of the listening public who stay tuned to 2020 and the shows that we have. So that's up to you. Go ahead. If that is what you want, you say Culturama is for everybody, but you make sure you cut off the people who support 2020 and who you think are NRP people. That's your business. Go ahead. Do what you want, and then go to church and pray and go home and say that the Lord bless you, because only you and the Lord could bless when you do your foolishness. Again, I am saying to all the people of Nevis, make sure that you participate in the festival. I did my hard work already. I was chairman of Culturama, not Culturama, the Calypso show for 4 years. So I don't put in my time. Never mind that the year after I stopped, I did my 4 years and said, let other people come in. And the next year when I turn up to Culturama, I couldn't even get in for free. They charged me to go in for the Calypso show. And I was chairman of that for 4 years. I don't mind. I does have a few shillings that I could pay my way. Again, thank you very much for being a part of the show. Thank you very much for following 2020. We had pleasure bringing you 2020 tonight, Powell Overload number 4. And Alan has agreed before I asked him that we'll do number 5. We'll find a time, and then I will apply to Daly and Tulu and Theodore for time for that show, so that we can do Powell Overload number 5. And we'll tell you well in advance. We like to do these things with a month's notice. Again, good night to you, Alan. Say good night to Dahlia for me.
No problem.
See you soon.
All right, later.
Okay. That's it. We'll see you again.
Yes, if you tell me, I will tell them that Tell Me is on.
Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it. Tell Me with host